What's going on, everybody? This is Roy Cannaday here. We are going to be doing a Q&A. So I do a lot of video editing over the Dice Tower. I do reviews. I do a lot of live stream production. I normally run a bunch of the behind the scenes stuff for like live streams and things like that. Set up a bunch of the intro and outro videos for spectaculars and make sure all the stuff is running smoothly with all of those. But this is going to be a Q&A, so feel free to start hitting me up with a bunch of questions we can answer, and then I'll just talk about whatever random stuff, probably ramble a bunch, be goofy, whatever. But yeah, go ahead and feel free to start hitting me up with some of those questions so I can start answering some of the stuff. Do note that Tom is at the World Series of Board Gaming. That just ended, and he was doing a little bit of live coverage there. I know you can check that out on their channel. There's going to be vlogs of that going up that I'm actually going to be editing up this week. And the rest of the team is preparing to go out to Essen. So they're going to have a booth there at the Rathskeller's table. Make sure to stop by and check that out as well. And make sure to go to the live show at Essen also. I'll make sure to check out all the stuff that's going on with the Dice Tower there. And here we're going to have me and Tom were talking on the phone this morning. It's mostly going to be like vlog content. So there's going to be World Series of Board Game vlog stuff, Essen vlog stuff. The retreat vlog is still going to be going up. So lots of vlog stuff coming up. Me and Wendy are going to be playing a couple of live streams here and there. I think we're going to play Crusaders and maybe some other games. But yeah, we'll see what goes on with all the different stuff here. Going to be a sparse week. It's not going to be our usual streaming, but I'm excited to get into it. So hey, let's see here. A monster on the bookshelf. There's a monster here. This is probably Z's work. Hello, Roy and everybody. Hey, how's it going? Do you love rambling? I don't know. I like talking with people. I enjoy talking with people. I try not to sound too crazy rambly when I talk about stuff, but it's just a stream of consciousness sometimes when you do these live streams, and you're just trying to come up with stuff on the fly to say. But it's a lot of fun. I enjoy talking about board games with you guys and talking about all sorts of different nerdy, geeky stuff. Let's see. Eclipse or Twilight Imperium, and why? I actually really enjoy both of these games. I think overall I would pick Twilight Imperium out of the two, but I have both of them in my top 100. I don't know if Eclipse is in my top 20, but it's probably a little below that, but I still really enjoy Eclipse as well. I enjoy Eclipse for all of the economic building up. I know you really need the money to work. I love like teching out your ships with different mods and things like that. I do feel like some strategies on how you tech out your ships are better than others, but I really enjoy building up your ships in different ways and taking the action to build those up. It's really fun to do that in Eclipse. But overall, Twilight Imperium I think is more epic. I enjoy the scope and scale of it. I really enjoy the action system in Twilight Imperium, and trying to figure out how to strategize towards getting those objectives are really fun. So I really enjoy both of those gigantic 4X games. I haven't played either of them in a while. I wonder why. Let's see. What hero do I table the most in Marvel Champions at the moment? I've been mostly playing through the new stuff. So I played a ton of Kitty Pryde going through the campaign for the X-Men stuff. Normally I'm almost always playing new stuff when I play the game. If I'm going to go back and play something, I played a bunch of Nova recently because I really like some of the deck, like the stuff you can build with him as well, with really high attack turns and being able to get those extra wild resources with his helmet and stuff like that. But yeah, I really should play through a bunch of the older heroes and then try to figure out exactly what kind of order I would put them in at this point, just because there's so much stuff for it and I'm always playing new things. I just enjoy the game. I just enjoy the variety of all the different heroes. And it's just fun to pull out the box and be like, okay, we're going to play this guy versus this villain. And I have a blast with it. Would you do a tandem review with Steven for War of the Ring card game, please? I don't know about tandem review because he's not here, and I think he's did a video about it anyway. I'm sure we will review it here on the channel. But yeah, I know the game pretty well. I actually ended up at the retreat. Basically, we played War of the Ring, the card game again, and I kind of had to help with the rules sort of from memory, but we were decently in the rule book. We figured it all out, and because we just kind of did a demo at Gen Con, But spoiler alert, it's probably going to be pretty positive from my end. But I do want to teach more people here in the studio because I want to get opinions about people who aren't necessarily as huge on the IP, or everybody here likes Lord of the Rings, aren't as big on the board game IP overall. So it'll be interesting to see maybe people who haven't played the board game at all, what they think about the game also. But yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. Let's see. I'm trying to figure out what these means. Let's see here. Since you're a 4X player, have you played Chaos and Order from Garfield Games? If not, you should try it. I probably should try it. I definitely, if anything actually fits in that genre, I'm definitely interested in at least checking it out just because I really enjoy games that allow you to build up things and give you meaningful choices as you're building those things up along, and then allow you to utilize those things to either attack your opponents or interact with them in interesting ways. 4X games normally tend to do that a lot, so that's why I'm such a big fan of the genre. Good morning, Roy. How old are you, if you don't mind me asking? I know a lot of people think that I'm younger than I am, but I'm actually 36. My birthday's in May. Also, is this one of those fishing questions? You're going to ask about my mother's maiden name and like what school I went to, all those things. And then you can have all my passwords. Do you have any interest in competing in the World Board Gaming Championships someday? I know when they first announced it, Tom was joking a bunch about sending me and try to like make me see how good I could do at the thing. I used to play a bunch of Redemption, which is like a Christian collectible card game, and I won a ton of tournaments for that. I played a bunch of Magic, but never, I won a lot of like local stuff, and our local group was like 80 people for like the tournaments and stuff normally. And I could win some of those sometimes here and there, but whenever I went to like PTQs and stuff like that for Magic the Gathering, I couldn't afford to compete most of the time because Magic is quite an expensive sport. I don't know what you want to call it. Game. It's an expensive game. But the World Board Gaming Championships is interesting, but I don't know if competitive games is really the way I personally want to consume the hobby. I play board games mostly to be casual, to hang out with friends, to have cool interactions around the table and the camaraderie. Whenever you bring competitive stuff into that, it gets crazy. And it's awesome for the people who do it, like who want to like hone their skills at a specific game, but you really have to like play the game over and over again. And then also not make any misplays, make sure you're playing the game properly, make sure you know the strategies to look out for and the things to counter players on. But then you also have to get lucky at the same time. So it's like, the luck just didn't swing my way this time or that time. And the same thing happens in Magic or any of those card games or any games that people play competitively. Sometimes luck just doesn't swing your way. But I don't know. I'm not saying that I wouldn't. I would try, but I would definitely want to actually try to be good if I was going to do it. So gotta play the games over and over for that to happen. But yeah, and there's a lot of Euro games in there. I'd rather play more interactive games in general because I do find it fun trying to talk people out of jumping you. Let's see. Okay, let's see this. I'm looking forward to Last Light. Any fun stories to share about what you've been learning from the other side of board gaming? Yeah, it's definitely very interesting. When I went into designing a game, I didn't realize like how long pipelines for these publishers are. Like whenever like you're getting a game and playing it, you may have heard a game announced and it's coming to your table and it's going to be out in a few weeks or whatever, or even a year from now. But normally there's like years and years of developments and like pipeline of the game being like worked on and produced behind the scenes before a game is ever even announced. So there's a ton of stuff that goes on for board games like for a long time. I just didn't realize how long it takes for a game to get from the design stage to the playtesting stage to all that stuff happening, because the designer could be almost completely done with the game. I started working on Last Light in 2017, and honestly, the mechanics of the game haven't really changed. That we made small tweaks to things here and there, but it's like, man, it's been like years till it's actually coming, and we still have some time to go because it's not going to hit people's actual tables for like until like next summer probably, when it gets done for manufacturing and shipped over. So everything just takes a really long time, and I think people don't realize when they're playing a game like how much effort it took to get that game into their hands. And then a lot of other interesting behind the scenes stuff about like localization and stuff like that. I had no idea that there's other publishers from other companies who want to jump in on your game and produce it in their language. It's been really cool too. I've like played the game with I played with publishers from Italy, played it with people from Germany. I played with a bunch of different publishers that are interested in localizing the game in different languages. I know we definitely have a Brazilian localizer nailed down, and they're going to be bringing it to Brazil. And it'll be cool to see like a game that I produced in a bunch of different languages. And that's a thing that I didn't think about at the time. It's just been cool seeing all sorts of different people excited about my game from all over the world. So that's really exciting to see, and I can't wait to see how that goes from there. But yeah, there's a lot of really cool stuff from behind the scenes that I've learned. And that's really exciting. Oh, I love this. Not a question, but I took your recommendation from Summoner Wars, and OMG, it is so good. I can't believe I just found out about that game the other day. Yeah, Summoner Wars is actually one of the first games. I mean, I played a ton of board games, but when I sold off my Magic collection, Summoner Wars was one of the games that I actually got. And it was basically based off of watching reviews from Tom, because Tom really enjoyed the game, and I saw how the game worked through his reviews. I'm like, man, this is going to be great. And I played a ton of Summoner Wars, and now the new second edition is a blast, and it's basically mine and Tom's go-to game. If new packs of Summoner Wars come in, it's like, all right, Roy, let's face off against each other. And it's kind of funny because we'll both be kind of bugging each other about like, can we okay, and like if new packs come in and his workload's busy, I'll be like, and normally our workloads are busy at the same time, but I'll be like, oh, when are we going to play Summoner Wars? And if I'm editing a ton of stuff, he's like, do you have a break in your editing for us to play Summoner Wars? And we're always trying to figure out like when we can make it hit the table like as soon as they come in. So we definitely really enjoy Summoner Wars a lot. Oh, here we go. Did you see the Storm pack for Marvel Champions using a weather deck? Looks neat. Yeah, it gives me a feeling of the Doctor Strange deck where he had these conjurations that come out, but her weather deck, you can kind of just flip through it and it'll do different effects to like everybody on the board. Yeah, I've seen a lot of that style stuff in the Marvel stuff. I know I haven't done my review for the big box yet, but there are some of the campaigns have stuff that like affect everybody, like give everybody +1 attack or -1 whatever. It's very interesting. I'm really excited to play Storm, and I'm just excited for X-Men in general, just because I love X-Men, and I really can't wait to see the next ones that they're gonna release. But yeah, I wish they do more than one cycle of X-Men. I don't know how much X-Men they're gonna end up putting out, but it'd be cool to see a ton of it, just because I love Marvel Champions. Which Unmatched set is your favorite? Yeah, that's an interesting question, because I have like it all together. I never actually played the Battle of Legends, the second one. I know Z got that and he played it, but I haven't had a chance to play the Battle of Legends 2 stuff. I don't know. It's so weird because I don't necessarily think of it as different sets. I would say if you're going to get in on it, probably get in on one of the Battle of Legends or something like that. I really enjoyed the Jurassic Park stuff. That's fun, but they're kind of like, they're more unique ways to play, because when you're playing with the Velociraptors, you're controlling 3 characters, or when you're playing with the T-Rex, it's just one giant character that's really hard to beat. So it makes for a very interesting game. I'm probably just going to say start with the regular Battle of Legends for me. I don't know. Like I don't even know how the first one, I don't even know how I'd rank. I know Z's all into ranking all of the Unmatched stuff. I just play the game and really enjoy it. But yeah, let's see. What kind of music are you listening to? If I had to guess, nu metal or college punk. I mostly listen to like pop punk, like the Wonder Years and a bunch of different stuff like that. Just alternative music in general. I'm really into, I don't know, I listen to like emo stuff too, emu stuff. No. But yeah, just a bunch of different rock mostly. But yeah, I'm down with all sorts of different bands and styles and stuff like that, but it's mostly pop punk type stuff. Like MXPX is my favorite band, and me and my girlfriend listen to Green Day and stuff like that a lot, so we're into those things. Oh, this is awesome. Roy, do you still play Marvel Legendary? And if so, what are your favorite expansions? Funny thing is, I literally hadn't played Marvel Legendary almost since Marvel Champions came out. I played a little bit after Marvel Champions came out, but then I hadn't played much until like last week. And then I taught it to my girlfriend for the first time. She really enjoys a bunch of Marvel games. So I was like, I really want to play Marvel Legendary because we got to play Clank at the retreat, and she loved Clank. And I'm like, here's another deck building game, but it's Marvel. Let's try this out. And we played it together. We played with a bunch of the X-Men stuff with like Phoenix and Wolverine Colossus and X-23, a bunch of different X-Men stuff. And we played versus Red Skull, which I know is super easy mode. Yeah, I still like Marvel Legendary. I like the deck building aspect of it. I have so much stuff for it. But yeah, there's just a ton of powers and stuff in the cards. I hadn't played in such a long time. I kept having to look up what the different abilities were. If I said favorite expansion, I'm still going to say Guardians of the Galaxy. I really enjoy the Guardians of the Galaxy stuff. I love the fact that you can store up like those shards to do extra damage in combat, to get extra fight points and stuff like that, to be able to get those really big hits. I think they're really strong, especially when you play with a bunch of Guardians of the Galaxy together. I think that's still my favorite, and that was my favorite years ago, so I haven't played too much to see what more of the new stuff does. But yeah. How is Last Light doing? So Last Light is currently in, it's being produced. I know they're getting all the manufacturing stuff together. They've got the manufacturer nailed down, and I know they're getting like really nice planets produced. They're working with Game Trays. They just announced that Game Trays is going to be making the insert for the game, and they have this really cool display of like what the plants are going to look like. It's going to look even better than the picture they posted because it's going to have all the different colors and stuff in there. So I'm really excited about how the stuff is coming together. But just like anything in manufacturing and producing, it's a bunch of going back and forth with the manufacturer and making sure everything's right and getting the samples in, making sure they're perfect before you hit that print button. Because once you hit the print button, everything has to be perfect and in place. So, but I just got a bunch of extra like proofs from my developer about a couple little tiny changes and things like that we're making to stuff, and I'm really excited about everything that's going along. So everything's going great, and it's still, I think it's still open for late pledges and stuff on GameFound too. So, and that's been doing really good as well. They said they've been shocked by how much people are still late pledging for it. I played a bunch. So I did an interesting thing at the retreat. Instead of trying to play a bunch with people, I took my prototype and set it on the like anybody can play shelf. And it ended up getting played like 3 times. Once was with a group that played 8 players. Most of them had played before at the retreat, but they brought in a couple of new players. And they played by themselves, like learning from, well, they knew the game from before, and they just went through the rulebook a little bit. Chris taught a game to some people, and then another group played it. Also, and then there was a bunch of people that was just getting it and like reading through the rule book and checking out stuff. They were super excited about their pledges coming in. I'm just really excited for when people actually get their own game. What is your favorite game that you've ever painted? I feel like I'm bad about painting games because I end up painting like some of it and not painting all of it. I've painted a bunch of my Blood Rage. What else did I paint? I've painted a ton of my Rune Wars miniatures. I painted a bunch of Battle Lore 2nd Edition. I really like Battle Lore 2nd Edition. So that would probably be my favorite one that I painted, but I didn't paint all of it because I like painting the big monsters and I don't like painting the units over and over again. Which games would you decide not to sleeve? Most of them. I don't think I sleeve most of my games. I do try to be careful with them when I play them. But sleeves are so expensive and they make games take up a lot more space. A lot of it is just the price and the space for me. It's like if I sleeved all of my Marvel Legendary, it wouldn't fit in nearly as small a space as I have. I have it in like one artist case. I take out all of the cards that aren't needed to like actively play the game, and I try to keep all the heroes and all the villains set so that I can play with them. But I get rid of the extra modular sets. I get rid of all the extra cards to build decks with and just have this stuff to play the game. If that was sleeved, it wouldn't even close to fit into any of that stuff. So I haven't sleeved many of my games. Maybe in a game that you use the cards and hold them in your hand a lot, like the same cards. I'm definitely going to be sleeving my action cards for Last Light when that comes in. What are your top 5 favorite X-Men characters? We're going to go with Gambit, Wolverine, probably then Rogue. Dag. And then I'm going to say there's so many good ones. There's so many good ones. We'll do Multiple Man and then Iceman. So those are my favorite. So, and I'd really like to see more of these guys come out in different decks. There'd be so many cool decks you could make with a lot of them. So why did Marvel United make so many big boxes? Why not just one big box? Well, for one, in manufacturing, they're gonna have to have it all as separate SKUs. Well, for them to resell the stuff, they'd have to have it in separate SKUs. So like if they're selling like this box set as a box set and this box set as a box set, they would keep those things separate. Um, and and because they're gonna sell them later on or do them in different ways and sell them at stores and things like that, they can't put them all into one box for some people and in multiple boxes for all other people, just because that's a logistical nightmare to have extra things like that. And I think they're into the whole being impressive with how gigantic of a stack of things you get. It's like, oh, you spent $200 on this? Well, we're going to try to make you feel like you spent $200 on that. And you open it up, some of these packs that cost like $40. It's like, oh, there's 5 miniatures and a few cards in it. Ugh. But overall, I think it's just a lot of packing material. And if you bought all of it, it's kind of crazy. But if you bought it one piece at a time from a store later on, even though a lot of the stuff doesn't even come that way, it would be really nice to have it all in one big box. I agree. But yeah, that's probably the reason they do it, is just because logistics and manufacturing. Even though I'm sure it is expensive to have all that extra stuff. What is the spookiest game you've ever played? I don't think games are normally too spooky overall, just because they're board games. I like to really get into Mansions of Madness, I think. I have basically everything for Mansions of Madness. I've played most all the scenarios. I just really enjoy the way the theme comes together for that. I love the way the app kind of helps the map build out as it goes along. I love that you're trying to like puzzle things out, but then there's sometimes these looming, just gigantic, monstrous creatures that come out that there's no way you're really gonna beat, that you really just gotta run away from and avoid, which kind of helps with the dread and terror in that game sometimes. But yeah, I think Mansions of Madness is probably the spookiest. But overall, I wouldn't say board games in general are very spooky just because they're cardboard and plastic. Let's see if I can get through this question. What are your thoughts on determinism in games, where you can plan ahead the whole game versus randomness? You can plan ahead a bit and mainly have to react to what is happening. I've done like series on this channel about enjoying randomness in games. I don't like games that are fully like luck free or extremely deterministic, where you can plan stuff out. I guess an example is I recently played Brazil, and in that game there is luck here and there, but most of it you can kind of plan out like exactly how you want your resources to be done. It's like, okay, I'm going to build this building, which will give me these resources, which I can use to build this building, which gives me these resources, which I can use to build this building, which gives me these resources. I basically had like 5 turns ahead planned out, like every single time it was my turn. I'm like, okay, I do this. Back to me. Okay, I do this. So I think I ended up doing pretty well in that game, but overall, like I think it's, a lot of people are like, oh, randomness equals less skill and just whoever wins the game. I think it's a much more important skill to be able to react to the randomness that the game gives you and being able to see the opportunity on the fly than a game that's completely deterministic. Because if it's completely deterministic, life is not completely deterministic. It's more realistic if things are changing and you have to completely go with the flow and roll with the punches here and there and figure out the best strategy at the time. If it's too chaotic, then you're not able to be strategic at all and your strategy doesn't matter. That's one thing. I don't really like games like that where it's like Munchkin or something, or Flux, where it's like so chaotic that you can't strategize at all. But I like there to be a good balance and mix. And I definitely, if a game's completely deterministic, whoever knows the game better is going to win, which I think people like that. And I think people enjoy that, but I'm not one of those people. I already get accused too much of like, I don't know. People get mad when you win too much, and it kind of sucks sometimes. So I like there to be randomness and interaction so that people can actually like pull things back, or you can go after the leader, or you can kind of, the players can influence the game more than just everything being deterministic and there's no luck involved at all. But yeah, I like games that give you that excitement. Also, I think like you have to have some sort of randomness or luck for there to be actual incitement in a game. If there's no like stand-up moment or like, oh man, that die flipped here or there, there's just gonna be like silence and sitting there slowly playing your stuff. I think randomness adds excitement to games, you know. So definitely for me, I like some randomness where you can plan ahead some, but you have to be tactical in decisions you make, and you have to adjust your plan sometime because something better comes up. And seeing those things is actually a important thing. Da, 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 da. Have you updated your business cards to say game designer instead of editor, or do you just put more successful? No, I would never. Anyway, we'll just put that bottom part off there. Um, but yeah, so I don't have actual any business cards for that stuff. But uh, I don't know. It's kind of a weird thing because like I review games, I edit videos about board games, and I used to get a lot of other designers or other people in the industry would give me crap because I would say that I'm not a game designer until it's actually on people's table. Because I think a lot of people claim to be game designers or are like, oh, I'm designing a game here and there. It's just immediately like a thing, and I feel like you have to actually, I guess, have gotten paid for it or actually get like it. People have to actually be playing your game for me to actually feel like I'm a game designer. And now that a little bit of that stuff is happening, it's kind of surreal because I I don't know. It's just cool that people like my game and enjoy it. I didn't know that it would make it this far, and I'm really excited. I put a lot of work into hoping that it would make it this far, and I pushed towards it making this far. But like, I'm really excited to see how far it can go. Um, and you know, maybe someday I'll feel like I could actually put game designer on my stuff. I put it on my Facebook now, so I guess it's official. So, um, da-da-da-da. Let's see. Latest Euro games you would recommend and why? Wrong stream. No, I'm just kidding. I'm notorious for liking more Ameritrash or more, I guess, hybrid style games, games that allow lots of interaction, which are normally not considered Euro games. If I do like a Euro game, it's normally more of a family weight or an extremely fast playing Euro game, or at least the fact that like your actions are really fast. I just played Crusaders, which I know is not a new game at all, but we played with the expansion. I just played with Chris and Wendy, and that was really enjoyable. You get to run around and do a bunch of stuff, but it feels very Euro-y as you're building stuff up. There's a lot of things I do like about Euro games. I love being able to upgrade stuff. I think Euro games does that really well mechanically, and like they have solid action systems. I'm just not as big of a fan of where it's just the only thing that matters are points. I love games that take the strong mechanical underpinnings of Euro games and then add in interaction and story, and just give you something to actually talk about after the game is done, rather than they got 28 points, they got 28 points, you got 29 points, you know? Um, it's more exciting when you have something impactful and interacting to walk away with. But I enjoy the light ones that are fast, you know, but the gameplays of them don't stick in my head one to the other, you know. Da-da-da-da. Da-da-da. I'm working on my prototype. Do you have a great website for custom components? So I did use some Game Crafter stuff back in the day. You can print out cards there. You can get out a little bit of stuff. Normally when I go to Gen Con, I'll grab some components there. They're not normally custom components. So if you want like stuff that's actually custom, maybe you get a 3D printer and go to Thingiverse and you can print out some stuff here and there. Like I had a thing where I was working that has a bunch of mountains. So I got some mountains. I was 3D printing a bunch of different mountains for a game. But I'm still just using someone else's files. So if you're trying to have stuff to actually be in the game, it depends on how custom the component is, you know. Different things are going to have to be in different places. But Normally, if you're building a prototype, when it's in the prototyping phase, especially if you're planning on pitching to a publisher, you would just use whatever you can, borrow from the other games that you have, like the different pieces, like different bits and bobs and stuff like that. If there's a game you don't like anymore, scrap it for the components that are in it and use your cubes and your crystals and your different resource tokens and the dice and stuff like that to be able to build your prototype. Of course, cards, the trick is always like use sleeves and then put a card in there in front of like a piece of paper in front of another card, and you can easily make prototype cards, and it's easy to take that piece of paper out and throw it away. I wouldn't suggest, unless your game is extremely solid, I wouldn't suggest printing out cards until like you know those cards are not going to change, because it's just going to be expensive for that. But yeah. So yeah, Roy, I've got a question. How did you know Tom? How did you get into the Dice Tower? So I know I've told this story a few times, but I'll say it again just for the fun of it. But yeah, I was a fan of the Dice Tower. I watched a lot of the content there, and I started doing my own board game content after I got really big into board games, and this was probably like a really long time ago. But I started doing a podcast, and I'd done a podcast for a while, and I wanted to make more stuff. So Mark Street had actually hooked me up with Z, who was doing Board Game Blender, because Mark was doing Board Game Blender at the time, which is a variety show that Z used to run. And I was already a big fan of the Dice Tower, and so I started doing videos on Board Game Blender. Sam made another show, variety show. I was on that as well. And then I brought in Favorite Game Friday, which I had done on Instagram for a while, and brought that into the Dice Tower also. So I started doing content on the Dice Tower, and then I met up with Tom, Sam, and Z at a CMON Expo that was in Atlanta, Georgia. Met them there, and then I started going to Gen Con with them. So I'd go to Gen Con and help out at the booth. Then I'd go to like Dice Tower Con. I went to a live stream, like 24-hour marathon, where me and my co-host for my podcast came down, and we were also on the 24-hour marathon. So I just started interacting with Tom and the team in a bunch of different ways, helping out at shows whenever we go to events, being on a lot of different variety shows and doing a lot of content. I started doing my own reviews for the channel as well. So I have a bunch of kid games I've done with my kids, and then a bunch of other games that I enjoyed that I did reviews before I ever worked officially for the Dice Tower. I just did a bunch of stuff with the guys. And then the opportunity came open to, they needed an editor for videos. So I applied for that. I ended up getting the position and moved down to Homestead, Florida to actually be a part of the team. So basically I found him out through YouTube and ended up like interacting enough to actually end up landing a job when it happened. And now I've been here into the end of December. It will be 4 years. So yeah, it's been fun. It's been fun. And I love doing all the stuff in the board game space. It's just really cool to see the community that we have fostered at the Dice Tower, and like at conventions, and just so many awesome people coming up and saying that they enjoy what we do. Like, I love this job. It's amazing. I'm sure you've been asked already. I have not. ISS Vanguard is starting to fulfill in the US here soon. Are you ready to get in the game? I'm pumped. I'm stoked. I'm excited to play it. I really want to try it out. A lot of Awaken Realms games are not necessarily the easiest to get into, so I'm hoping the rules aren't too crazy. We did play it live, and I remember how there was like action dice and things like that, and it seemed pretty fun at the time. I'm excited to see how everything came together in the final product. I love space games, and I love the idea of a interesting space exploration game with like weird stuff behind the scenes. It'll be cool to see how the story plays out in the game as well. They've got a lot of interesting stuff going on, so I am excited to see. I just hope the final product all comes together as a really cool thing. So I'm sure that'll come in at some point. That'll be really cool. Roy, what is the hardest part about game design? I think for me, personally, it's feeling like the game is good enough to actually show it to other people, which should be a really early step. But I feel like I want a game to be extremely good. So I do a massive amount of time. Think about the game, playtesting in my head, making sure the game is solid, which is a weird thing to do, to be able to say a game is pretty solid before showing it to too many people, because normally every designer is going to tell you to do the opposite. You need to get out there and play test it as fast as possible, make changes, play test as fast as possible. But I feel like if you have enough experience with games, or maybe if your brain's just weird like mine, you can kind of rule out certain aspects of your game ahead of time to stop a lot of heartache and people being like, oh, this is not good. Because of where I am, because of the caliber of the people that I play games with, they play a lot of games. They know good games. They don't have tolerance for bad games. So, and I feel like I have a reputation to upkeep and a credibility. So I'm definitely never going to put out something or push something in design that I don't think could withstand the scrutiny of my peers, I guess. So that's the hardest part for me. I think most people in general is just taking the first steps to get the prototype made, you know. I really enjoy making the prototype. I make ridiculous prototypes that probably look way better than they should for things that I definitely will be throwing away. It's like I'm printing this card. This card is going to be thrown in the trash. You know, I'm printing this tile. This tile is going to be thrown in the trash. I'm 3D printing out this ship and then putting it in a silicone mold and then pouring resin into that to have these cool 3D ships that are not as good as the ones that are going to be in the final game. These are definitely going to be thrown in the trash. So there's a lot of stuff that you make and then have to throw away. But yeah, it's kind of sometimes hard and heartbreaking when like a whole mechanic doesn't work in a game or like a whole idea doesn't work in a game and you have to throw away all those components that you spend a bunch of time making. But you got to do it. You have to like not hold on to anything sacred in a game. And the main thing is make a game fun. It has to be fun for the people playing. Balance is good, but people having fun playing your game is the most important part. Because people want to keep coming back if it's fun. But yes, that was a lot. I'm probably way behind on questions. I probably haven't gone very far at all. What is your favorite best Halloween costume? I haven't done too many Halloween costumes overall. I don't know. I really enjoy Halloween. I like dressing up the kids and taking them out and doing the Halloween trick-or-treat stuff. I haven't done too many costumes or cosplay and stuff like that myself. I know I did Donnie Darko one year and wrote like the date and time or whatever on my arm. But that was pretty simple. I think this year I'm going to be Venom and my girlfriend is going to be Spider-Gwen, so that'll be fun. Or I'm going to be Spider-Man with the Venom suit. Slightly different, but still cool. But yeah, so we'll see how that goes. But yeah, it should be fun. Oh, this is funny. How do you feel about Transformers and other IPs being added into traditional Magic the Gathering booster packs? I thought a lot of that stuff was secret lair stuff. I thought I didn't realize they were adding in crazy IPs to regular Magic packs yet. I think as secret lairs, it's fine. And honestly, I'm so far from actual Magic that it doesn't matter to me too much, regardless, because I'm probably not going to play. Especially not standard where it actually matters. But yeah, that is crazy if they're adding IP stuff into standard format cards. That is weird. It's definitely weird because then they're making it more like a very mashup weirdo game. But I know they've added tons of like Walking Dead and like they're doing like whole Lord of the Rings set and then they're doing the Commander decks for Warhammer 40K. But yeah, I think it's cool that they're adding that stuff in, but it's kind of weird to have it in the main regular way to play the game. I think it's still cool to have it for Commander and all that stuff because Commander is such a weird, crazy format anyway. It's kind of cool to have all sorts of mashed up stuff. But yeah, if they're adding it to traditional Magic booster packs like your standard format packs, interesting. Very interesting. I definitely want to get some of those Lord of the Rings cards when they come out, though. That would be really cool. Hey Roy, do you still play the Rune Wars miniatures game or have thoughts about it? I really enjoyed the Rune Wars miniatures game. I think it's dead. It's super dead. And probably for good reasons. It never really caught on. So not very many people were playing it. But I really enjoy the mechanics of the game. I enjoy miniatures games in general, but this particular miniatures game has a really cool initiative system where basically you would dial in like different movements for your different units, kind of like you would for X-Wing, but those movements, depending on which ones you picked, had different initiatives. So there were certain times when you wanted to move faster to get a jump on your opponent, sometimes move slower in initiative. You could go all real slow initiatives and then have your opponent move in, and then your people could jump on them. And the mind games of figuring out when you wanted to move with the initiative was really cool. And then they had a whole tray system for the combat as well, where the like rows and flanks would give you either more multipliers for damage or roll multiples of dice, or you get to re-roll dice. So it can help with your dice mitigation or help do extra damage depending on the way you configured your armies. It definitely was an extremely expensive game. It was like not super cheap, but once it was all on clearance, it was really cheap. I have like an entire shelf. Like I have a 5x5 Calyx that the entire top of it is just filled with tons of Rune Wars miniatures. I have at least some of every faction and every single unit. I definitely have way more undead than the other ones because that was the one that I was actually playing at the time. But yeah, I really enjoyed the game. I haven't played it in probably over a year. Well, no, probably in like a year and a half. I played with my dad the last time I played it. We just played like a little skirmish scenario here and there. Are you excited about the new Heroescape? I think it looks cool. I was kind of interested, like, Heroescape is cool. I didn't necessarily like the combat mechanics in it as well. I don't like defense dice because I feel like it's too random. I was talking to Chris about this today. But I still would really like to play it. I like that style of game, so it'd be fun to play again and try again, especially with the new stuff. But man, that price point, man, that's huge. I mean, I'm sure it'll come in here at the Dice Tower, but I don't think I'm personally going to be able to afford it. But people who are in a bracket that can afford that kind of game, it looks like it'll be a lot of fun. And it's really cool that they brought all the plastic pieces back and you can build crazy terrain and stuff like that. That's what they said it was always the holdup, was there's so much plastic in the game that's too expensive to make. It must be really expensive to make. I'm sure you're getting your value in that box, but that's a lot. But it'll be cool to play when it comes in. Hopefully it'll come in. It'll be really cool. Let's see. Oh, wow. I know you're not a Euro game player, but what are your top 3 Euro games? How hybrid are we allowed to go? Because, like, when you start getting hybrid, that's when I start really liking a Euro game. So, like, do you consider Blood Rage a Euro game? You go for victory points. You're drafting cards like Seven Wonders, you know. Is that actually considered a Euro game? Like, I feel like there's not even that, like, there's a lot of interaction in Blood Rage, but there doesn't have to be interaction to win. Like, you can kind of just get your area control, get your points, and win. But yeah, if you're talking about traditional Euro game with like low interaction, that line is like so blurry. I really like more family weight stuff. Like I really enjoy Century. Century's a blast. I really enjoy Gizmos. Gizmos is a lot of fun. I love engine buildy type stuff. And then I'd probably pick another like smaller family weight stuff, like Splendor. Like I like those really, really fast action ones where you're building a little bit of a combo or a little bit of an engine as you go along. Those are really fun for me. Just fast-paced, really light family weight. Roy, I'm a big fan of what you do. Thanks, Chris. Never heard of you before. When do you plan on doing Taco Tuesday at the office? So it's funny. Me and Chris are talking about doing Taco Tuesday. I would love to do Taco Tuesday. Like, I think it'd be cool to like get all the taco stuff in, or maybe like we'll like write a list of like ingredients, and people can just put their name beside like the ingredients, and like that's the ingredient you'll bring. And then at the like we'll be like, okay, these ingredients weren't covered for, so we need to go ahead and grab those. That would be a lot of fun to have a full-on Taco Tuesday, cook a bunch of chorizo and hamburger taco stuff, maybe get some like fajita style stuff too, and make like chicken tacos or something crazy, or steak tacos. That'd be really awesome. Just have a bunch of different stuff, and then we can just make our own tacos. That's one of my favorite foods ever, is when you just make custom tacos yourself. So yeah, I love it. I love it. Taco Tuesday needs to happen. What are your thoughts on the new Disney Battle Arena game? We had at the retreat, there was a basically we have a table where people would bring games in and then people would pick stuff off. The new Disney, what is the name of the game? Anyway, the new Disney Battle Arena game was the one that my girlfriend Ruthie had actually picked off of the table. So I read through the rule book. It looked really exciting. I know that Tom played it during the Spectacular as well. Yeah, I'm excited about playing it. We punched all the stuff out for it, and I looked through all the rules. It looks pretty straightforward. Like, you smash your deck together. You have different Disney characters. You're playing cards, kind of not really fully Unmatched style, but sort of a little bit like that. You play a card out to deal damage to your opponent. You're trying to knock each other off of these different spaces. It looks cool. It looks cute. I'm excited to try it out to get more fully fledged opinions on it. But I'm excited to play it just because my girlfriend is interested in playing it, and Disney is one of her favorite themes, so that makes it easier to get to the table. And Ruthie says, I'm down for Marvel games. Burr, 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 burr. I'm down for all the Marvel games too. What does it say? Okay. Hi, Roy. How did you manage to lose so much weight? I know this is a question that probably I don't get nearly as much anymore. Thank goodness. If you look at much older videos, you can tell, like, yeah. I lost a little bit of weight here and there. I think, I don't even know how many pounds it was. I just forgot to keep that much track of it. But mostly it was just like at first I started with doing more keto stuff and just walking like crazy, like tons of exercising. But basically now, to just maintain stuff, I definitely do just intermittent fasting overall. Like, I skip breakfast. I do a tiny bit of snacking for lunch. I don't really do lunch, really. It's just I eat a little bit of snacks here and there. And then I'll eat a meal for dinner. Like, it's literally just eat less food. And I will occasionally, like, go walking or run on the treadmill or try to do a little bit of weights here and there. But mostly it's just eating less. And in general, I feel like, wow, I was eating way more than I needed to eat. I was eating like frozen burritos for lunch, and I was eating, like, getting every meal in, and I would eat like a fruit bar on the way out of the door. I noticed that when I eat in the morning, I'm always way hungrier the rest of the day. And as soon as I start eating, then I continue to be hungry. So it's like, if I don't break fast, if I'm in fast for longer, then it's not as hard to not eat. So if I don't eat, it's not as hard to continue not eating. But once I start eating, my body's in, like, there's food around, eat all of it mode. And I normally do for dinner. Like, I eat fine. I just eat till I'm full, and then I stop, you know. But yeah, mostly just eating less in general. And not eating as soon in the day, you know. If you fast for longer, it's easier to kind of keep it off. What should I do next? Roy, don't forget about the giveaway. Loopy's right. There is a giveaway for this. I gotta find out the correct word. Let me go look in the actual description here and see if I can find the correct word for the day. All right. Oh, this is very interesting here. So today we have a gift card, $10 gift card for Game Nerds. This is a $10 giveaway for Game Nerds. And all you have to do is email us at contest@dicetower.com. And in the subject line, type SPICE, like Century Spice Road. So the word is spice, because you know I love games about trading spices. I actually really do love Century. Most of those games are not normally in my wheelhouse, but hey, we're going to go with the Euro game word this time because it makes sense. Why not? But yeah, just send in SPICE, and that will get us for the giveaway. So everybody make sure to check out contest@dicetower.com, put in the subject line SPICE, and you can win. And make sure to check out Game Nerds. Like, they have tons of awesome games, and they have really good deals on those games as well. So make sure to check them out for all of their stuff. You can buy lots of games from them online. What games are you most excited to be released by the end of the year? I am really excited for the War of the Ring card game. I've enjoyed that. I know I've already played it, so it's been a lot of fun. What else? What else am I excited about? That's actually going to be released by the end of the year? Huh. I wonder what else is coming out. I mean, more Marvel Champions packs are always fun. What else do I think is on the horizon that I'm excited about trying? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But I try to live in the now and play games that are currently out. And sometimes we have games that aren't even out yet that we play all the time. So I'm not always sure what's out and what's not out. But yeah, good stuff. Uh, can I ask, how did Star Wars Rebellion, which you rated a 9 on Board Game Geek, was not in your top 100 games at all, but games like Above and Below, which you rate a 7, have BG ratings, have not been updated in a while? I don't know what happened fully. So I decided to use Pub Meeple this time for doing my rankings. And I made it do everything that I rated, and somehow Pub Meeple messed up on Star Wars Rebellion. I don't know. It wasn't on the list because I rate Star Wars Rebellion extremely high. So yeah, Star Wars Rebellion is normally in my top 20. Just imagine that it's in my top 20 and everything else got kind of pushed slightly down from where it was. Whatever was my number 100, it's off the list. It's no longer there because Star Wars Rebellion deserves to be way higher up on my list. I really enjoy Star Wars Rebellion. I think it's a great game. And you're right. It should have been on my top 100. But we talked about that several times. Several people called that out. So it's been kind of funny. Okay. Hey, Roy, are your gaming choices from 10 years ago similar to your preferences today? Or have they evolved into something new or different? Um, I think, I mean, overall, I feel like I enjoy sort of the same sort of thing because I've been playing games for a really long time. I think 10 years isn't too crazy. Like, I feel like my tastes haven't gone too different from that. Um, let's see. Probably, I definitely was already past, like, even 10 years ago, I was probably already past, like, the Fluxes. And, like, when I first started in the hobby, I would play things like Flux and, and, um, and a bunch of different crazy random games, Munchkin and stuff like that, and be excited about it. And Betrayal House on the Hill, like stuff that's like super lucky all over the place, and be excited about that. But even 10 years ago, I was pretty much past that and more solid in like what I'm into. I still really enjoy the same style of like I enjoy area control games. I enjoy games with decent amount of interaction. I enjoy games that have epic moments and storytelling as it goes along. As far as board games go, I've never been as huge on campaign board games, even though I still enjoy them. It's really hard for me to continue to get them back to the table. Like I used to play a ton of D&D, and I love D&D, and I love like that style of campaign where you're making a story together. But like the reason that I don't play D&D anymore is because it's so hard to get the same group back together. And when you have a campaign game, you have to do that anyway. So it's like if I'm going to play a campaign game, I would almost rather just find time to play actual D&D just cuz D&D is that solid and it makes so many more memories. Like I haven't forgotten any of my D&D campaigns that I've ever played, but I have forgotten games of Gloomhaven. I have forgotten games of like legacy games that I've played. I mean, how each game went, but like I remember my role-playing sessions. But I also grew up playing role-playing games from when I was a preteen. I played a lot of Gamma World with my dad and stuff like that growing up. So I think my tastes are mostly the same, you know. If you talk about 15, 20 years back, I definitely was playing a lot more Catan and Flux and Bang and Killer Bunnies and a bunch more crazy stuff like that because we didn't have that much awesome games back then. There were, but they were more niche, you know. I hadn't played Cosmic Encounter yet. I did play Dune, and I really enjoyed that. And that's kind of the game that I kind of stuck with is stuff along the lines of Dune and D&D and card games. Grew up playing a ton of like collectible card games, and that's the style game I really enjoy. Let's see. I think I answered that this time already. Does the game you're designing have a solo mode? I think all the games I design should have a solo mode eventually. Even Last Light, we were working on making a solo mode. I think I'm very picky when it comes to solo gameplay. Like I really want it to be solid and give you a full like game experience. I've played plenty of solo modes, like even ones that people enjoy a lot, that for me just don't. They're not as engaging. And for a solo mode in a game, I really want to be engaged as the game goes along. Um, so uh, so yeah, I worked on a solo mode for Last Light as well, and then any games that I make are probably gonna try to have solo in some form. But I just want it to be good. I just want it to be solid. So definitely be looking forward to that in the future because we're continuing to work on those sort of things. Just because solo is important, and I think the solo community is really important. And if it's gonna be there, it needs to be really good. So yeah, solo gaming is cool. Um, um, do you just use hairspray or whatever cool hairdo you wake up with in the morning? So I use Got to Be Glued hair glue, and I've used it for goodness gracious, probably like 15 years at this point, like the same hair stuff. But I didn't do anything to my hair this morning. I just kind of woke up with it like this, and that's kind of how it is. So crazy, crazy messy hair. It's kind of just what happens. And normally when I put stuff in the hair, I just go done, you know. So and my hair is kind of like it's predestined to stick up at this point, just because it's always like that for the most part. Dun, dun, dun. Okay, lots of people just talking. Do you still play Magic in any format, or is there a CCG with random stuff that you are presently into? So I don't play any actual collectible card games where you open packs normally. I did play a cube draft at the retreat. Bruce brought his cube, and he asked a bunch of us to play. Actually, me and Z both played in the draft. It was cool. I think we did was it 8 players or 6 players? 1, 2, 3. I think it was 6 players. We had 6 people playing, and we all drafted. It was basically the power cube off of Magic the Gathering Online, kind of redone and taken and printed out, and we played through that. And we drafted. I ended up getting one of the Moxes. I got the Emerald Mox like as my pack one pick one, and ended up going green and white the whole time. I know people who don't play Magic are probably snoring now. But I had a bunch of swords. I had some ramp in there. I did pretty good. I won my first 2 games and then played with Bruce, who said he's played this cube online over 100 times. So he knew quite well how to draft it. And he drafted some crazy, like, drop big guys in for free combo stuff, which worked out quite well for him. But it was a fun game. I haven't played Magic in so long, like I play occasionally, but not like at like drafting or like really strong decks in quite a while, and I hadn't drafted Magic in years. So, but I still think I did pretty good overall. But Bruce ended up beating me, so that was fun. I would really love to have one of those cubes like he has. It's really cool to have a cube that's like, this is how we play Magic. The problem with a cube is like, they're not beginner friendly at all. Like you have to know Magic the Gathering to be able to draft properly. But it's definitely fun. It was definitely a blast. Let's see. Oh, hey, Roy, you rock. I doubt you remember it, but we played Hero Quest at Gen Con years ago. I think was that right when I first started working with the Dice Tower, or maybe right before. Either way, all of the different Dice Tower people were like bad guys, and there was like evil Eric Summer and evil Tom, and I had to face off against them. That was actually, I think that game was like set up from my old Patreon for my podcast or something like that. I think, but yeah, that was a lot of fun. That was a lot of fun. I'm just skimming through stuff because I'm trying to just randomly see. Let's see. Oh wow. Do you have a favorite version of the Dice Tower theme song? It's really cool that Tom's been getting a ton of the Dice Tower theme songs like redone. Recently, we did the Western one, which was really cool. He made that, and then like immediately the day that he showed it to us, I made that intro for his like 6 games that I played so you don't have to. And I went all in on trying to make this intro look really cool with like feeling Western and like Tom riding on a horse and all this crazy stuff. I'm probably gonna say the Western one for now, just because I listened to it so much and I work so closely like making that intro. If you haven't checked out that video, I think it's just on the one video so far, but I think he's gonna try to make that like his go-to series for when he reviews several okay games. But yeah, it's gonna be like 6 games that I played so you didn't have to. But yeah, I'm gonna go with the Western version of the song so far. But they're all really cool, and I love that there's so many mashups on it. The guy does a great job. Um, Da-da-da-da-da. What can we say here? What can we say here? Everybody's talking about tacos. I got to the taco part of the chat. He said it figured it would be spice because of Dune. That makes sense. That does make way more sense. What is your least favorite game mechanic? I'm not a fan of, like I said, defense dice in combat. If we're talking about combat mechanics, when somebody rolls for randomness on the offense and then rolls for randomness on the defense, it just feels too much to me because attacking and you have to get lucky to be able to land a hit. But then the fact that there's also luck determining when they actually defend as well. And a decent amount of games use those for combat mechanics. And I'm like, it's too much for me at that point. Because I hate when I roll perfectly and then still get hosed by a perfect defense roll. Just because it's like, I had it, but then I didn't. And I did everything right. Even my luck was right, and I still lost. But as far as other mechanics go, I'm not normally a huge fan of like, this might change, but like, no, I mean, overall, it's a kind of a different mechanic. Like cracking bases or like having bases that you're fighting over, like smash up, trying to have more people there to win that sort of thing, or having certain lanes you're defending. I'm not as big a fan of those style mechanics. I know it's a slightly different variations on that, where it's basically just comparing my numbers to your numbers to win over a lane or win over a base that you're trying to win. I know there's a bunch of different games that use that. I'm not. I mean, it's fine, and I think people enjoy it, but it's not anything super exciting for me. I think most other game mechanics, there's a lot of game mechanics that can be used in tons of different ways that are great in Euro games. They're great in hybrid games. They can be even great in more Ameritrash style games. There's tons of amazing mechanics that so many different games use, and I love seeing them smashed up in all sorts of different interesting ways. There's so much that you can do with board games. I think there's so much yet to be explored that people can do with board games. So yeah. Okay. Let's see here. Do you play a lot of digital games? What's your favorite IP port of a board game to a video game that you have played? So I don't play too many digital games, mostly because I've learned that if I really enjoy a board game and I get an app for a board game and I play it a bunch, then I won't get that game to the table as much. I know that seems weird, but like if I've played it, I'm normally trying to play something that I haven't played a ton or get something back to the table that I haven't played in a while. So when I play something on an app that I'm like, yes, I've played it already. I don't need to play that more. So then I'll get something else to the table, and then it ends up making it so I don't play the board game version as much. I know that's very different for other people, and they play the app version, and they are more interested in getting the board game version to the table. Also, I personally don't like to know a game so well that it makes it harder for me to get to the table with new people. So if I play a game a ton, I'm going to know it super well. And it makes me feel really bad if I play with someone else that I'm having to hold back in weird ways to kind of like make it more balanced for them to play. Like if I know all the strategies and I can see all the blocking and things like that and how to like block things or do better than them at other things, it's like I don't really want to play that game with new people ever. You know, it's like this is not really going to be balanced unless there's a lot of interaction or a lot of luck in the game. Then it can kind of help swing that back the other way. So yeah, I mean, I try not to play a game to get really, really good at it or master it in those ways, just because I did enough competitive gaming back in the day. But yeah, it looks like we're over for time now. But yeah, oh, and we're kind of close to the bottom of the end. Da-da-da-da. Let's do this one real quick. What are your thoughts of Ring of Power? I don't know. So I watched the first couple of episodes. I enjoyed it. I thought it looked really cool. I really need to take the time and go back and watch it more because it hasn't gripped me as much as I wish it had. I wish that, I don't know. It's just interesting. I don't feel like I know fully what's going on, but that's maybe just because I haven't been paying as close attention to it as I should while watching it. I watched it and then fell asleep during the second episode, so then I had to like rewatch stuff, and now I'm just kind of slightly lost about what's going on. So it seems slightly boring to me so far. So, but I love Lord of the Rings. I love the IP. I definitely want to give it a chance because I know there's a lot of people that don't want to give it a chance, and I definitely do want to give it a chance just because I love Lord of the Rings and I'm interested in more content in that world. But yeah, we shall see. My actual final thoughts are yet to be known. But yeah, with that, I'm just going to say bye to everybody. Thanks so much for joining me on this stream. It's definitely you guys that help us do everything we do at the Dice Tower. It's definitely awesome having everybody come in and join and watch our stuff. I know we're going to be slow for the next little week here while everybody's out at Essen, but if you're at Essen, make sure to go by and say hi to everybody there. Make sure to check out everything we're doing here on the Dice Tower, and we still have a ton of videos from like the Spectacular. Go back and watch that if you haven't watched already. We have a bunch of reviews that are going to be coming up soon. Lots of cool stuff happening. But yeah, thanks so much for joining us, and we will see everybody next time.